My sister Alara married into a family that was superstitious about the health benefits of eating placenta. After my nephew, Ethan, started teething, he was forced to eat placenta at every meal. As a teacher, I tried my best to warn everyone about the dangers of consuming it. Later, Ethan grew up seemingly healthy, but his paternal grandparents and even his father, Liam, constantly blamed me, saying, "Remember how Anya stopped our son from eating placenta?" Affected his intelligence. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had to study so hard or missed out on his first love in his youth. Because of this, Ethan harbored a deep-seated resentment against me, pushing me from a height. The moment I opened my eyes, I found myself back in time, seeing 3-year-old Ethan being forced by Liam to drink placenta soup. Alara, heartbroken for her son, came to me for help. I told her, "You made your choice by marrying into this family. This is your decision to make." When Alara was pregnant, her in-laws would stew placenta soup for her every week. She found it disgusting and didn't want to eat it, but she also understood it was their way of showing care. Refusing would cause conflict, so she called me, asking for advice. I researched and compiled a detailed report, and the next day, I went to her house to thoroughly explain the harmful effects of eating placenta to everyone. But no matter how serious I was, her in-laws wouldn't listen. Instead, they used examples to refute me. "Anya, you're still young and lack life experience. Back then, your grandparents almost died, but they survived because they ate placenta. And your eldest aunt and uncle, they were always frail and had multiple miscarriages, but after eating placenta, they finally had children. In those days, getting placenta was difficult. We were lucky Alara's mother-in-law worked in the hospital's obstetrics department to have such a benefit. You should appreciate it." A chorus of voices echoed their sentiments. My head throbbed. Finally, I lost my temper and demanded that Alara and Liam repay the $100 million I had lent them for their house. Only then did things quiet down. When the baby was born, everyone was busy, and no one mentioned eating placenta anymore. But as soon as Ethan started teething, the in-laws began to urge him to eat placenta again. Alara called me, crying and talking. "Anya, you once said that if placenta isn't handled properly, it can easily cause infection and that it contains a lot of estrogen, which can affect development, right? Now, Ethan's paternal grandmother stews placenta soup for Ethan every day. I'm so scared just watching it. Can you help me? I really don't know how to talk to her." My sister, Alara, was gentle and weak-willed. She had always been bullied at home. Every time I had to step in to protect her, so this time was no exception. I immediately went to her house. Another battle began. I used the fact that I had lent them money as leverage, forcing Liam to concede and not give Ethan placenta anymore. Watching my nephew grow day by day, as his aunt, I poured all my love into him. I bought the best formula milk by the carton and sent it to her house. I ordered the best toys every few days. I sought out every connection I had to ensure Ethan had the best education and a bright future. I thought that by dedicating myself wholeheartedly to my sister and nephew, I would at least earn some respect from Liam's family. But behind my back, one by one, Liam's family members whispered into Ethan's ear, "It was your aunt who stopped you from eating placenta back then. It affected your intelligence. Otherwise, why would you have to study so hard or miss out on your first love in school?" During high school, Ethan almost fell in love prematurely. A rebellious girl with green-dyed hair rode her motorcycle into the schoolyard, openly confessed her feelings for him, and even secretly used the school's broadcast system to play and sing a love song dedicated to Ethan. That scene, even for me, a teacher, stirred a hint of youthful emotion, let alone for a teenager like Ethan. But my reason told me that for high school students, studying was the only elixir. So I called Ethan to my office and advised him about the pitfalls of early romance, sincerely telling him, "You can wait until you get into your ideal university before pursuing the girl you love." Ethan listened to me, suppressing the intense emotions in his heart. It wasn't until he was admitted to Tsinghua University and Peking University that he joyfully went back to find the girl, only to discover she was with someone else. He saw her smoking, drinking, frequenting bars, and involved with many other men. He tried to save her, but she had accumulated massive gambling debts and tragically committed suicide by jumping into a river. Ethan blamed me for the death of the one he loved and sought revenge. Seizing an opportunity when I was vulnerable, he lured me to the rooftop and pushed me off. The agonizing sensation of bones shattering still felt vivid. In my ear, I heard the voice of Ethan's paternal grandmother. Anya, Alara is your sister. We won't dwell on you stopping her from eating placenta. But Ethan is our grandchild, our family's business. Why do you keep interfering? Isn't that too much? Anya, I know you're highly educated and a respectable teacher, but please don't preach to our family like that. It took a moment for me to realize I had been reborn, returning to the very beginning. Before my eyes, Liam was holding a bowl of placenta soup, trying to force it into the child's mouth. My sister, Alara, was so distraught she looked on the verge of tears, clutching my hand and pleading, Anya, help me. It smells too fishy. Ethan can't stand it. If this were before, seeing my sister so weak and pitiful, I would have certainly felt pity and stepped in to protect her. But now, I truly had no compassion left to help her. In my previous life, after I died, not only did she not bring Ethan to justice, but she also fabricated an alibi to help him escape punishment. She didn't shed a single tear as she conspired with her husband to seize my house and assets. My body lay rotting in the morgue. It wasn't until the staff urged her hundreds of times that she reluctantly cremated me, then dumped my ashes into a putrid ditch. When a bit of my ashes clung to her hand, she flicked them away, muttering, "Bad luck. From childhood, you were always better than me, and now you've died before me. What good are your abilities and education? All the money you earned was spent on my child anyway, wasn't it?" That was the sister I had loved my whole life. I shook her hand off. Her face went pale, tears still clinging to her eyelashes. I said coldly, "Sister, what your mother-in-law says makes perfect sense. You're married now, you follow your husband's family. Family matters are for you to decide. I'm an outsider, it's not appropriate for me to interfere." She blinked, her mind blank for a moment. By the time she reacted, I had already left the house. Inside, little Ethan was still babbling and yelling, "No eat, not yummy." She looked at me helplessly, then bowed her head, enduring, beside the child. I thought she would at least try to persuade her husband and in-laws not to feed their child placenta. But what she said was, "The soup is a bit fishy. Next time, could you cook it braised in soy sauce? It might make our son less averse to it." Ethan's paternal grandmother smiled contentedly. All right, as long as your sister doesn't cause trouble, we can cook the placenta however you like. My good grandchild, eat a lot and you'll be smart. The hospital will have 3 more births tomorrow, and I'll secretly get some placenta. Steamed, stir-fried, stewed, however Ethan likes it." The whole family sank into a facade of joy and unity. I left Alara's house, went to the market, and stopped by the beef stall. Without hesitation, I bought 2 kilograms of beef shank. Cooked with chili in a clay pot for 2 hours, then scooped over hot rice. The flavor was so good it felt like melting. In my previous life, because I prevented Alara's in-laws from eating placenta, Ethan's paternal grandmother blamed Alara for not having meat to eat. To spare Alara the difficulty, every few days I would buy several kilos of beef and lamb and bring them over. I frequently brought food to Alara's house, helping to improve their family meals. I always understood her struggles, how difficult it was for her living with her in-laws. Even if I myself only ate boiled vegetables and radishes, I would bring the best cut of meat from the market for her. But what about her? She never once invited me to a meal, never even said a word of thanks. Everything seemed to be taken for granted. Well, now things were different. I could enjoy delicious beef, lamb, fish, and shrimp. As for her family, they had to rack their brains to find ways to cook the toxic, bacteria-laden placenta, which had less nutritional value than a piece of pork. With hospitals increasingly tightening regulations, Ethan's paternal grandmother also found it harder to secretly obtain placenta from the obstetrics department as before. But the whole family still centered their lives around the grandchild, ensuring Ethan received his daily portion of placenta. My sister occasionally complained to me. Before, I found placenta fishy, but now there's not even a hint of meat broth in the house. We eat vegetarian all the time. Look at my face, Anya, it's completely pale. Anya, last time I saw some marbled beef in your fridge. How much is it per kilo? I want to buy some for Ethan to eat too. Previously, with just a slight hint from her, I would wholeheartedly take care of everything. But now, when she asked about the price of meat, I simply answered her question directly. Marbled beef is over 100 per kilo. Tell Liam to get up early and go to the market, or he won't be able to buy any. So precious that you have to go early for it? It's just a piece of meat. People value taste now, but they should also consider the cost. It's still meat, how can it compare to placenta? She seemed to have completely bought into her in-law's placenta theory. Haven't you noticed Ethan getting taller lately? His skin is fair and smooth. Everyone who sees him praises how handsome he is. I even regret not listening to you and not eating placenta when I was pregnant. If I had, my skin wouldn't be as bad as it is now. And now, even if I wanted to eat it, there's none. His paternal grandmother guards the placenta very carefully. No one but Ethan is allowed to touch it. Her words were filled with regret, blame, and complaint. But she didn't know that placenta contains large amounts of estrogen, a hormone that develops female characteristics. Initially, it might make the skin smooth and bright, but in the long run, high doses of hormones would mask male characteristics and even affect reproductive function. I had told her these things before. If she bothered to research, she could easily find the information. But at this point, she definitely believed her in-law's words more. Placenta really does make people smarter and stronger. Our Ethan is 2 heads taller than his peers. Yes, 3 meals a day of nothing but fat, oil, and hormones. It would be strange if he didn't grow horizontally. Doctors had clearly stated Ethan was obese, but her family still believed it was a sign of health. His biological parents and paternal grandparents didn't even care. Why should I bother myself? When Ethan, at 15, failed his middle school exams, my sister's whole family came to me. They hoped I would use my connections to help him get into high school number 1, which was where I taught. Ethan's homeroom teacher firmly suggested vocational training, but the family insisted he would become a scientist and couldn't possibly go for vocational training. Anya, please find a way to get Ethan into your school. You watched him grow up. He's so smart. He just underperformed in this exam. Once he's in high school, he'll definitely get into Tsinghua and Peking University. You know, he eats placenta every day. His head is a whole size bigger than normal people's, unlimited potential. The whole family kept nagging me. I was exasperated. I led them all to the admissions office and stated bluntly, to get into this school, it's $100 million for an unscheduled slot. If you have the money, he can study. If not, he can go to vocational school. Of course, her family didn't have the money, so she turned her sights on me again. Anya, you know Liam's and my situation. $100 million is too much. You're Ethan's aunt, can't you help us out? Ethan will repay you when he becomes successful. Yes. In my previous life, I had thought the same way. I believed that if I willingly sacrificed for my sister and Ethan, they would be grateful. But what happened? My life became rotten and festering. I looked at my pathetic and small sister with an emotionless gaze. Sister, you still haven't repaid the $100 million you borrowed from me before. I think you should at least pay that back first. When the loan came up again, my sister's face immediately turned ashen. Anya, why do you keep bringing up old matters? You can open your mouth to borrow money, so why can't I ask for the money you still owe? My sister tried to use emotional appeal to sway me, but I frankly said, whether Ethan is smart or not, I don't know, but honestly, $100 million isn't worth it. He can go to vocational school, learn a trade. As long as he's not lazy, he can still find work in the future. My sister's eyes reddened, tears threatening to spill. Ethan's paternal grandmother stood beside her, yelling and muttering, "This granddaughter is just like those greedy teachers. My Ethan is a genius. What kind of school dares to ask for $100 million for a spot? I'll sue the Department of Education and have all you teachers thrown in jail. High school number 1 not accepting Ethan is their loss. My Ethan will definitely get into Tsinghua and Peking University later." The whole family cursed loudly and then left. I watched their aggressive departure, a faint smirk playing on my lips, thinking to myself, it's best if Ethan doesn't get into high school number 1. If I had to see his face every day, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to resist intentionally confronting the person who once killed me. However, life has a cruel way of turning. When the 10th grade school year started, Ethan arrived and was assigned to my class. My sister's family once again told me, if Ethan doesn't get into Tsinghua or Peking University, it's your fault. Now we're entrusting him to you, you must take responsibility for Ethan. He's a genius who grew up eating placenta, so you, Anya, must teach him well. Every word over the phone pierced my ears. After the commotion, my sister cautiously said, Anya, don't take it to heart. That's just how my in-laws are. Ethan insists he has to be in your class to pass the Tsinghua and Peking University exams. Please try to pay attention to him for me so he can succeed. With just one phone call, she had thrust the entire burden named Ethan onto my shoulders. I replied indifferently, Sister, whether Ethan succeeds or not isn't up to me to decide. It depends on him as well. My sister quickly interjected, Ethan will definitely be fine, he's so smart. His paternal grandmother even goes to the maternity hospital to find placenta to help his brain develop better. I cut her off. I will fulfill my responsibilities as a teacher, but I cannot guarantee admission to Tsinghua or Peking University. All right, sister, I have to go teach now. I'm hanging up. I hung up. Walking back into the classroom, I immediately recognized Ethan sitting in a corner, with a large head and a round body, looking like a gas tank from afar, heavy and sluggish. Compared to the tall, neat student he once was, he now looked like a completely different person. His eyes were dull, devoid of any spirit, appearing very listless. I began to introduce myself to the class. Ethan looked up when he heard my voice, and a strange, shifting gleam appeared in his eyes. I couldn't describe that emotion, but it made me very uncomfortable. I reassured myself that I might be overthinking and didn't dwell on this first encounter. Until a new female transfer student, with green-dyed hair, rode her motorcycle into the schoolyard. Showing off and attracting the attention of the entire school, Ethan brought flowers to confess his feelings to her. I thought it was a destined, unavoidable romance, just like in my previous life. But I didn't expect that after being rejected, Ethan would take his guitar to the broadcast room during lunchtime and play and sing a love song specifically for her. Grace of Class 13, I like you. This song is for you. I hope our youth can intertwine here. I was very familiar with those lyrics from my previous life. It was precisely because of this song that the whole school was shaken, and Ethan fell into an inescapable love. I clearly remembered the moment that radiant girl gave flowers to Ethan. In his eyes, intense, suppressed emotions appeared. He had fallen in love with Grace, just as he did in the previous life, and this life was no different. That's why he absolutely had to enter this school and be in my class. From beginning to end, his goal was never academics, but Grace. It was a pity that Ethan was no longer the handsome, academically gifted boy he once was. Because he ate too much placenta, coupled with abnormal development, his appearance was both stupid and dull. Ethan was completely unable to attract Grace. Despite actively pursuing her and even sending her love songs, all he received in return was her ridicule. Both sides of the school buildings were packed with students eager for gossip. Ethan's hoarse voice and off-key singing emanating from the broadcast system were extremely grating to listen to. Many students covered their ears and cursed loudly. Which idiot is this? Confessing love without looking at the time. It's lunchtime, you've ruined my beautiful dream. So annoying, thinking you're the male lead in some youth drama. First, look in the mirror and see what you look like. Which class is he from? I want to report him and have the school expel him. Grace, a strong girl not constrained by school rules, after learning that the person confessing was a clumsy, overweight underachiever, led a group of friends straight into the broadcast room. Right in front of the whole school, she brutally humiliated Ethan. You damn fatty, can't you look in the mirror before confessing? Your face is as ugly as a ghost, and you're imitating those idol dramas, confessing with a guitar. This is my favorite song, and you've ruined it. How disgusting. Despite being humiliated by Grace, Ethan didn't give up. He muttered resentfully, Grace, that's not true, I know you like me too. Grace sneered, like you, how could I like a fat slob like you? Stay away from me. Ethan shook his head, mumbling, you didn't say that before. You used to say you couldn't live without me, you said there was only me. Hearing this, Grace almost choked with laughter, but Ethan shamelessly clung on, demanding that Grace accept his feelings. Grace initially didn't want to cause trouble, but Ethan forcefully tried to kiss her. Unable to tolerate it any longer, she called her classmates to teach Ethan a lesson. Ethan, sensing trouble, ran away, but his heavy body made him clumsy. While being chased, he fell down the stairs and broke both his legs on the spot. Ethan was taken to the hospital. My sister's family stormed the school, demanding justice. Grace confronted the entire family alone, clearly explaining the incident and frankly exposing everything, not bothering to save Ethan's face. I've tolerated enough. He tried to force a kiss on me first, that's why I got angry. As for the beating, we hadn't even touched him when he fell and broke his legs himself. You want me to compensate for hospital bills and emotional damages? Fine, then I'll sue Ethan for sexual harassment. The broadcast room has cameras. I'm sure to win the case. My sister's family was speechless, only stubbornly blaming Grace, even daring to say she intentionally seduced Ethan. Our Ethan is a genius, grown up on placenta. He'll be a scientist someday. You saw his potential, that's why you dressed nicely to tempt him. You want to join the Chen family? Don't even dream. Grace burst out laughing. Oh, so Ethan ended up looking like this because he ate placenta? Everyone knows how full of bacteria, viruses, and terrifying hormones placenta is. Only people like you would dare to feed this stuff to your precious grandchild. Now I'm starting to feel sorry for Ethan. Being stuck with a family like yours is truly unlucky." Both sides fiercely confronted each other multiple times, eventually having to call the police. Through investigation and evidence, the police determined that Ethan fell and broke his legs himself, completely unrelated to Grace. The matter finally subsided. When Ethan was in the hospital, my sister called me many times, asking me to visit, but I didn't want any more trouble, so I kept making excuses to refuse. Previously, I still regarded Ethan as an ignorant child and might have agreed to see him, but not now. He was the one who had killed me. Therefore, when Ethan was discharged from the hospital, returned to school, and stood before me, I only showed a cold expression. "Auntie, I told my paternal grandparents I won't eat placenta anymore," he stammered, finally managing to say a sentence. I narrowed my eyes at him, my voice icy. "Placenta is that good? Your mother called me several times saying she wanted to eat it but couldn't get any." Ethan pursed his lips, not daring to look up at me. "I'm sorry, Auntie. I know I was wrong. Before, you stopped me from eating placenta because you wanted what was best for me. It was because I believed my grandparents' words that I killed." The words Ethan didn't say, I said for him. He trembled, his eyes full of remorse. As tears fell, he sheepishly said, "I'm sorry, Auntie Anya, I was just too fixated on Grace. Auntie, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." If sorry could solve everything, what would we need the police for? I looked at him coldly, without any pretense. Tears streaming down his face, he pleaded, "Auntie, please help me one more time, just like you helped me with my studies in my previous life. I don't want to be a bad student anymore. If placenta really did ruin me, not only making me look neither human nor ghost, but also making my mind dull. I want a change, Auntie, please, can you help me?" He knelt before me, clearly trying to bind me with morality, but facing the one who had once killed me, how could I give him another chance? How many years had I sacrificed? How much affection had I once given him, only for it to be worth less than a few instigating words from his paternal grandparents? Having read so many books, learned so many things, could he really not distinguish the harm of placenta? He just wanted to find a place to vent his anger because he couldn't be with Grace. And I, who always thought of him, became a sacrificial lamb for his youthful romance. It was truly disgusting. Seeing that I didn't agree, Ethan immediately called his parents and paternal grandparents. The four of them took turns bombarding me, wanting me to tutor him. I couldn't refuse, so eventually, I voluntarily applied for a 2-year teaching assignment far away to avoid being bothered. But Ethan still tried to find a tutor, demanding a high-level teacher. Such tutors were rarely available for private lessons, and if they were, the fees were exorbitantly expensive. Previously, just the $100 million for high school number 1 had been enough to make the whole family tighten their belts. Now, where would they get the money for sky-high tuition fees? Finally, Ethan had to compromise and hire a 985 university engineering student as a home tutor. Each 2-hour lesson cost 150 RMB. After 2 months of continuous study, Ethan also changed his lazy habits and dedicated himself to his studies. But no matter how hard he tried, how long he stayed up studying, his academic results remained dismal. Even the tutor couldn't bear it and advised Ethan, "If you feel too much pressure, perhaps you should look for other directions, like studying literature, art, or pursuing sports. Don't be so fixated on engineering." These words were overheard by Ethan's paternal grandparents. They immediately cursed the student. But this student was not one to back down and retorted sharply, "With 2 old-fashioned grandparents like you in the house, Ethan will never amount to anything. You two are the ones who ruined your precious grandson's mind. What is that placenta you cook every day? It's nauseating. Is that even edible for humans? Let me just say it outright today." He's in 10th grade and still can't understand the Pythagorean theorem, yet he dreams of going to university. After being scolded, Ethan's grandparents were not convinced and still loudly shouted, "What does that stinking brat know? Placenta is so good, you eat it to become smart. You people can't even get it to eat. It's because you are a bad teacher, not because our grandson, who grew up eating placenta, isn't a genius." Ethan was stunned for a long time. Only then did he realize something in his grandparents' words. He stared and asked, "Didn't I say I wasn't eating placenta anymore?" His paternal grandparents quickly reassured him, "What nonsense are you talking about? If such a good thing isn't for you, who is it for?" He didn't believe them and asked again, "Have I still been eating placenta these past few months?" My beloved grandchild, don't listen to people making things up. Placenta is so precious. People who can't get it are just jealous of you. Immediately, Ethan's face darkened. He overturned the table, threw cups, and then, as if going mad, smashed everything in the house. At this point, his paternal grandparents finally realized the gravity of the situation and quickly called their son and daughter-in-law, who were working extra jobs to earn tuition money, back home. My sister and Liam walked into the house, horrified to find it looking as if it had been ransacked. Ethan was squatting on the ground, crying hysterically, his large body convulsing continuously. His paternal grandparents had never seen such a sight and were trembling with fear. Seeing Ethan start to foam at the mouth, my sister and Liam quickly called for an ambulance, taking both the grandparents and their son to the hospital. After examination, the grandparents were only in shock and would be fine after some rest. But Ethan was not well, severely obese, weakened limbs, and slow brain development. The most serious issue was probably Ethan's physiological characteristic disorder. The doctor said there was a high probability he was infertile, and even with treatment, the prognosis was not good. My sister and Liam completely failed to understand how things had turned out this way. Tracing the cause, the doctor pointed out that placenta contains large amounts of viruses, bacteria, and hormones. The prolonged absorption of abnormal hormones had hindered Ethan's normal development. How could my sister find these words strange? On the internet, in books, there was no shortage of such warnings, yet she used her paternal grandparents' arguments to defend herself. Doctor, how can placenta be bad? My aunts, uncles, and relatives from back then all survived by eating a piece of placenta. You just need to look at it dialectically. In those days, people even had to eat tree bark to survive. Placenta is meat after all, so of course, it's more nutritious than tree bark. The doctor replied, compared to today's material conditions, placenta is nothing compared to beef, lamb, or pork sold in the market, which are much safer and healthier. Hearing this, my sister's paternal grandparents approached, intending to argue with the doctor, but at this point, my sister had completely collapsed. She grabbed the grandparents' clothes and screamed, "Why don't you two old people just die already? It's not like I don't give you money to live. You're just stingy, unwilling to buy beef and lamb for the family. Even when Ethan said he didn't want to eat placenta anymore, you still tricked him into continuing to eat it. Ethan is 15 now, and you started feeding him that toxic stuff when he was 3. Now he's ruined, it's all your fault, both of you." Her emotions reached their peak. Ethan, in the hospital bed, also cried hysterically. At this moment, the grandparents finally realized the gravity of the situation. Ethan won't be able to have children later. Ethan won't be able to go to university. It's you two. You two have ruined Ethan's life. My sister even almost grabbed a fruit knife and lunged at the two grandparents. Luckily, Liam held her back. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unthinkable. Ethan's condition couldn't be cured by just staying in the hospital, so he was sent home that day. Upon returning home, my sister immediately took out over 50 kilograms of placenta from the freezer and threw it all away. The paternal grandparents watched with regret but dared not say a word. After that, my sister quit her job and began to take care of all of Ethan's daily needs herself. "Ethan's matters no longer concern you two grandparents," she clearly declared. Liam, though an accomplice, dared not object. After some time, things gradually settled down, and the family returned to a facade of harmony. Liam held Ethan's test papers, all filled with failing grades, and sighed. Under the urging of the two grandparents, he finally suggested having another child. Although my sister resented the grandparents for the placenta issue, now it seemed that only by having another child could they have someone to rely on later. If we have another child, what about Ethan? He definitely won't be able to go to university. Or should he drop out of school and work to earn money for his siblings' milk? Ethan definitely won't agree. He still dreams of getting into Tsinghua and Peking University. But what if he doesn't agree? He's not a genius. He's just intellectually disabled. He has to accept this reality. When the family was discussing having a second child, Ethan happened to overhear. Hearing his own parents say he was intellectually disabled, he grabbed a knife and stormed into the house, threatening to kill everyone. After a period of chaos, the whole family was terrified by his fury. Finally, they had to compromise that they wouldn't have any more children. Only then did Ethan put down the knife. Although nothing physically happened, everyone's hearts were scarred. My sister called me again, telling me about recent events, full of regret and pain. "Anya, I should have listened to you before. If not, Ethan wouldn't have ended up like this. Now he's like a monster. I'm genuinely afraid one day he'll stab me to death in my sleep. Anya, please help me, I really don't know what to do anymore. I couldn't offer any useful advice, only pretending to comfort her with a few words before making an excuse to hang up. Before I could disconnect, she tearfully asked, Anya, I feel like you're not the same anymore. You always protected me before. Where has the old Anya gone? Where? Oh, she's dead. Where else could she go? I am now someone who won't let myself be bound by morality, who won't easily interfere in other people's lives anymore. The next time Anya heard about Ethan was when he was 18 and about to get married. The fiancée was Grace. This surprised me greatly, so I intentionally made some inquiries. In 11th grade, Ethan had stopped eating placenta. Thanks to his diligent efforts and self-management, his condition had improved compared to before. He lost a little weight, and his academic performance also improved. Ethan's math teacher said that if he maintained his current performance, getting into a third-tier university wouldn't be a big problem. But then Grace sought out Ethan. It turned out that when Grace turned 17, she fell into slot machine games and gradually became addicted. She started frequenting mahjong parlors, drowning in gambling. Still a teenager, she would stay up all night at the mahjong table. She wanted to win money but ended up losing everything, then borrowed money and, as predicted, continued to lose it all. Someone who was once arrogant had now gone astray. She started dating various boyfriends indiscriminately, accepting anyone as long as they had money. Among them was Ethan, who was willing to spend money on her. Ethan loved Grace. He had always loved her from beginning to end. When Grace said that 100 million was all it took to marry her, Ethan was swayed. He used the excuse that his parents were preparing to have a second child and asked them for 100 million, dropping out of school to marry Grace. In what capacity was I attending my nephew's wedding? I was, of course, present. Looking at Grace in her shabby wedding dress, looking at Ethan in his cheap, ill-fitting suit, I couldn't describe my emotions. Auntie, thank you for coming. Ethan raised a glass of wine to me, his face devoid of expression. I wish you happiness, I replied. His eyes were full of bewilderment. Auntie, without eating placenta anymore, can I still be happy? I didn't know how to answer. In the bitter cold winter, the wedding banquet was enclosed by a blue waterproof tarp, making it chillingly desolate. I suppressed my emotions, took out the wedding gift envelope, but before I could hand it over, Grace snatched it. She grinned. Ms. Anya, thanks to you teaching in the same class as Ethan before, we were able to form this connection. That shameless, brazen demeanor was nothing like the radiant young girl she once was. My sister and Liam also came, their faces not looking very happy. After a few polite greetings, Ethan and Grace went to offer drinks to other guests. Liam sighed and went to tend to something. My sister tightly gripped my hand, tears welling up in her eyes. Anya, I don't know what to say, but Ethan is ruined. My little nephew is about to be born, could you please treat him a little better? This time, I swear I'll listen to you. I absolutely won't let him eat placenta anymore. Seeing her with her pregnant belly, I understood she was pregnant again. I subtly curled my lips. Sister, I came today for 2 reasons. 1, to congratulate Ethan on his wedding, and 2, to inform you that the school I taught at has officially given me a permanent position. I probably won't be coming back here again. My sister was stunned, then openly looked crestfallen. Anya, are you still blaming me? I blame you. Why should you blame me? When we were little, you always used tears to manipulate me into protecting you. That's why when I grew up, I stopped caring about you. Ethan could have not eaten placenta. You clearly could have stopped it, so why didn't you do anything? I smiled faintly, gently removing her hand. Sister, I told you before, you got married. Ethan is your child. You have to make your own decisions about your family matters. I looked directly into her eyes and slowly said, I'm just an outsider. After speaking, I brushed the dust from my clothes. All right, I'm leaving now. You don't need to see me out. My sister stood frozen in place, silently watching me leave. The sisterly bond ended there. Ethan wholeheartedly helped Grace pay off her debts. He thought that by dropping out of school for her, working for her, sacrificing everything for her, he would receive her love in return. But all Grace brought Ethan were countless bills and new debts. If you like me, you have to pay for me, don't you? If it weren't for money, why would I marry you? Don't you look in the mirror and see what you look like, Ethan? You're disgusting, yet I can still live with you. You should be grateful. Grace spent money like water, and debts piled up like mountains. Ethan, with no degree and no skills, simply couldn't earn enough money. To keep Grace by his side, Ethan could only beg his parents and paternal grandparents for help. But with the second child about to be born, my sister, Liam and the two grandparents naturally had to dedicate most of their money to the soon-to-be-born grandchild. So, when Ethan constantly begged for money day and night, the four of them bluntly told him, "Don't come looking for us anymore. You have your own family now. You have to take care of your own affairs. Your younger brother is about to be born. Logically, he also needs money for upbringing. We won't bring up old matters again. You should know your place. Don't contact us anymore from now on. Just consider it as us owing you." Ethan was rejected by his own parents and paternal grandparents. Returning home, he discovered Grace was cheating on him. All the pent-up resentment and suppression exploded. In that moment, he grabbed a fruit knife, ended Grace's life, then returned to his biological parents' home, sending both his mother, father, and paternal grandparents down a path of no return. Of course, the unborn younger brother also forever rested in his mother's womb. By the time Ethan regained his sanity, it was too late to save anything. The police apprehended the perpetrator at the scene. Ethan admitted to all his crimes and was not sentenced to death. When I heard the news of this incident, I was standing at the podium, teaching students about the dangers of eating placenta. Placenta contains many hormones. Although there's no evidence that humans absorb them directly, consuming it will certainly cause hormonal imbalance. Inside, it contains countless viruses and bacteria, some even carrying hepatitis B virus and HIV. Eating placenta can lead to serious, unforeseeable consequences. Nowadays, material conditions are sufficient. We can absolutely eat safer and healthier foods. A scientific and balanced diet is extremely important for adolescent development. Absolutely do not believe in unsubstantiated folk remedies. Do not be superstitious about the outdated reasoning of the elderly.